Hi, folks. This is, I suppose, welcome to my presentation affectionately entitled SEO is Not Magic, a Do-It-Yourselfer's Guide to Findability. Just to lay out the groundwork of what this presentation is, this is not a high-tech presentation. I am not going to stand here and tell you that I can wield search results like some sort of wizard or magician. Obviously, I can't. What I am going to tell you is a couple of things that are practical that you can do, really depending on your sort of level of comfort and your level of technical expertise and your ability to create. You are going to be able to do any or all of these things to help influence your findability, which is how easy is it for somebody who's doing a search relevant to your business, how easy is it for them to find you? That's really all we're talking about. So I'm going to kind of take you from the very beginning very quickly and try to get up to a pace where, you know, this isn't SEO for dummies. This is SEO for bright people who want to do something good for their business. So that's kind of where we are. So as an overview, I just like this definition. I think Rebecca does a really succinct job. Search engine optimization is the art and science of getting a website to appear prominently in organic search engine results when a search submits a query relevant to that website. That's it. That's all we're worried about. How do we get the right information to the right people when they ask for it? Let's also remember, SEO is a process, not an event. If anyone tells you that they are going to come in, optimize your site, and you're going to have a fully optimized and functioning SEO, you're not. It doesn't happen that way. I liken it to, that's like saying you're going to have a happy marriage if you get the wedding day right. No, that's just where it starts. Then that's when the work comes in, okay? Yes, do you need an optimized site? Do you need optimized code? Do you need your directories to be in order? Yes, yes you do. That's a level of optimization. That's where you need to start. After that is when the work comes in, and that's when when I say the work comes in, that's where not the magic comes in. So let's talk about the landscape. When you're optimizing, who are you optimizing for? Well, let's start with Google, because in our world, Google represents 79 point something something, depending on where you look, percent of all the domestic search traffic and over 83% of the worldwide traffic. Okay, so let's start there. Let's make sure we please the folks at Google with what we are about to do, the mission that we're about to embark on. Between Google and Yahoo, you've got about 92% of all U.S. Originated searches, period. That will pretty much get you where you're going. The folks over at MSN, Ask, AOL, regardless of how much money Ask spends, they combine for fewer than 1 in every 10 American searches. So while it's important to consider them, let's not spend a whole lot of time focusing on whether or not we're optimized for Jeeves or whatever his name was. So what you need to know going in. Google results do not represent the world as it is. It is a real-time query of the site's most recently assembled index. Now, why would I even bother telling you that? Well, let's understand this real quickly. When you search Google, it is not live fire searching the web. What it is doing, it is assembled an index of all the information that it's been able to gather up until that moment. It has a huge index that says, this is what Google knows today. And you are searching that index. It's basically, if you go back, I'm dating myself here, it's the card catalog for the worldwide library, okay? The key is you have to present your website in a manner that is orderly and understandable so that you can be appropriately sorted into that index. So let's not talk about sort of splash marking, but rather how we do this in an orderly fashion. How do we put the thought into it so that the end result is what we want? Okay? And I don't want to talk about this in too much theory, but okay. And then here's my original point, which is organic search rankings are something that you can work to influence, but ultimately you do not control them. Again, Rebecca Lee, very sharp on SEO. So if you get a chance, follow her on Twitter. She's got some really good stuff to say about SEO. But yes, let's understand that what we're doing is we are following down an orderly path to influence a result. We cannot create the result. We can't control the result. But what we can do is say, you know what? We did what we could do, and let the world sort of take it from that point. So I wanted to bottle this all up as quickly and concisely as possible, so I like lists. I'm a big list guy. I want you to know there are 4 things, not that there are only 4 things, but there are easily 4 things that you can influence, 4 ranking elements, things that you can control a little, or you can influence, sorry, not control, influence. Content continuity. Content continuity is a relatively simple concept, and that means from the keyword that your customer uses, literally to the title bars on your page, to the content in the center of the page, to the tags at the bottom, that we are saying, anyone remember the 5-paragraph essay diagram from English 101? Remember that? Tell us what you're going to tell us, then tell us what you just told us. And I'm going to go into this in a little bit more detail, but from the title tag, in your content area, does it say, services, or does it say personal financial services and retirement planning? Those are 2 entirely different things. If the title tag of your site on your services page, I'm using a financial planner as an example, says services, it is meaningless to Google, to Yahoo. Meaningless. Services can mean anything. However, if it says personal financial services and retirement planning, now we've got somewhere to go. Now the bots, the spiders, know what comes next. They know what happens next. It's the digital equivalent of obvious foreshadowing. Here we go. Okay, here's where the personal financial services category is. In the copy of that text, in the content of that page, does it say personal financial services and retirement planning? Good, if it does, because now you've got connection from keyword to title, from title to content, and from content down to tag. The meta tags aren't nearly as important as they used to be. It's just a nice way to sort of wrap everything up. So you repeat what you have in the title bar in the meta tag at the bottom. Next thing, linkage. Make sure you're linked to appropriate resources and that appropriate directories, recommendations, resources are linked back to you. This is hard work, and it's something that we'll talk about in some detail, but it is something that you can influence. You can help build your own link status. You can help elevate your position in search engines by being linked to these appropriate locations, and we'll talk about what some of those are in a little bit. Recency. If you last updated your site in 2005, that would not be recent. Let's just get it out there. Those of you who have the ability to add or delete or change content on your site, good, step 1. Step 2, let's think about real-time updating. Let's talk about things like blogging. Let's talk about microblogging in your social networks. If you saw Stacy's presentation just a little while ago, fantastic. These kinds of things, but just remember, and we'll get into this in some detail, just because you blog doesn't mean it's going to work. There's some tools and techniques that you need to know to actually elevate your rankings. Excuse me. User behavior. When I say 4 things that you can influence, I put the behavior of the people who visit your site that you can influence. We'll talk about some specifics, but that is one of the things that you need to do, because one of the things that the search engines do is they say, okay, 1, is your topic relevant to the search words that were used? That's 1. 2, who are you linked to? Who says you're a valuable resource? Who do we believe? Who's going to vouch for you? From recency, well, when was this updated? Is this the truth as it was in 2003, or is it today? And then user behavior. Okay, did somebody type in a would-be relevant keyword set, come to your site, and immediately leave? Or what did they do when they got there? Did they follow a process through your site that allowed them to leave a trail for Google to say, no, people tend to be using this site. They use it as a through path to something else. They're using it as an answer to the query that they originally typed in. So we need to set the sites so that they actually function in those kinds of ways. So, let's talk about from four factors or 4 elements. Let's talk about 5 things you can do to influence those 4 elements, okay? The simplest and most important part of this action strategy is goal setting, strategy, and path making. I'm going to go through these real quick, and then I'm going to do each one in detail. Research. Who is your composite customer? What does that customer look like? How do they act? How do they behave? Link building. We just talked about it in brief. We're going to talk about it in some detail. We have to make sure that your site is available in those places where the people who might be interested would be sort of hanging. Titles, tags, and descriptions, like we described before, that content continuity. and then content creation. This is your recent updates, your blogs, your news, press. All of these things are going to be very important to elevating your position at Google. So I say Google, sometimes I leave out everybody else because so do a lot of people when they're doing searches, tend to leave everybody else. So it does happen. Okay, goal setting, strategy, path making. This is kind of the way I sum that up. Look, it is very difficult to get something out of your website. You've heard this before. I don't get anything out of my website. It's very hard to get something out of your website if your website doesn't know what it's supposed to get up and go get. If your website doesn't know what it wants, it's going to be very difficult for it to do that. What you have to do is establish what we call cogent conversions, something logical for your visitor to come in and do. What is it that you want your potential client, your potential customer to come in and do? Do you want them to set an appointment? Do you want them to call you? Do you want them to sign up for your e-newsletter? Do you want them to add themselves to your mailing list? What do you want them to do? Because if you don't know what you want them to do, you haven't started yet. And you probably wasted a lot of money on a site design and build out and hosting and all that stuff because it's not doing what you want because you never told it what you want it to do. So it is extremely important to, if you need to, sit down with a coach, call a web designer, there's a half a dozen folks that you can call in any networking group that will help you with, okay, well, what are we going to use the site to accomplish? And let's just make sure that we are extremely clear on what that is going in. Next, let's enter the research phase calmly and slowly, which means it is not a simple matter of, let me back up. Let me tell you this one first. And this is one of the harsh realities is that there's a way that you go about searching for information online. And your way isn't his way. And his way isn't your way. You all do it differently. So what's very important is when it comes to finding out what your customer does and how your customer behaves, you can't project your opinions and habits upon them. I worked with an auto dealer recently who was explaining to me how people search for a car. He said, no. He said, he literally grabbed the computer and said, if I was searching for a car, I said, whoa, let's take a time out. Your name is on the building, and it's a car dealership. It's been one since 1938. You are the least qualified person in a 4-mile radius to be searching for a car for sale because you've never done it. Never, ever once. Not only have you never done it from a position of some other profession, you've never searched for one, period. So let's be sure that we are really, really clear that our users, our customers, are going to behave differently than we suspect. I don't know how they're going to behave, but I can tell you that it's different than you think it is. Another quick example is an attorney client that we worked with recently gave us a list of keywords that they felt were the most relevant to their business. Among that list was the term lawyer. Makes some sense to me. On a ranking list of the most common terms used by their composite customer, lawyer showed up, what number? Anyone want to hazard a guess in ranking order of most important or most relevant?
Below 20.
31. 31 was the 31st most commonly used term in search for that particular attorney. The reason being is people in that particular market tended to search by legal discipline. It would be divorce attorney, mergers and acquisitions, things like that. They would tend to search by topic as opposed to searching by lawyer. Attorney was the #1 most common used. People tend to use the word attorney, not the word lawyer. Do not apply that same rule to doctors because people don't use the word physician nearly as frequently as they use doctor. So it does change from discipline to discipline. So what we want to find out clearly is what language does your customer speak? Now, if we want to do that, there's a couple of cool tools. I mean, this is just a really simple one, great for do-it-yourselfers because you don't need to have, when I say relatively simple, it's really simple. Let's see if I can get this to pop up over my, hey, look at that. If you've never used Google AdWords, it's a really, really simple deal. Okay. We've got business consultant right in the front row. So we'll just type in business consulting. Okay? Checkbox, use synonyms. I'm looking at descriptive words and phrases if you look to the left, right? The left, right? Wait, that's not right. Okay, now if I can actually redo this captcha thing here, FUJAV. Let's see, did I do it right? Hey, there we go. The folks at Google will be so kind as to tell you what's the most commonly used phrases in that discipline. Look at that. Some of them are going to be specifically related. Some you'll be able to sort of mitigate by saying, oh, that's not really what I'm talking about. Some of these are going to be, classes on how to become a business consultant. Well, maybe that's not what you're looking for. But it's a pretty simple way to spider a set of maybe 8 or 10 keywords out to a list of about 25,000 if you needed to go that far. 2,000 is probably a good way to start. And then you can put them in rank. So sort of, this is ranked by approximate search volume in March. Business consulting, business consultants, business consultant, business management consultants, business management consultant, plurals, singulars, and so forth and so on. So what this does is it gives you a word set. It gives you a lexicon from which to work for all kinds of things. One, remember talking about content continuity? We're talking about title tags. You want it to be consistent from keyword to the title of your page, to the content on your page, to the tag at the bottom. Follow these. If this is the most common phrasing for your potential customer, isn't that the language you need to speak? If all your customers speak Russian, it doesn't do you a heck of a lot of good to build your site in Portuguese. Fair? Likewise, you want to make sure that you use the language of your potential customer. So this is just a simple little tool, but it's a way for you to, when you're doing it yourself, let's parlay this out to blogging. Okay, so you've built a blog into your site and you have the ability to do. Now, if I said, I'm a business coach, right? I'm a business coach. Well, you know what? Consulting was used 246,000 times. Maybe I'm going to change that language. I'm going to use this as my sort of digital thesaurus when I am building my blog. Now we have what's considered keyword-rich content. You're still speaking English. Please don't speak keyword-ish. That's really, really bad. And actually, Google's smart enough to pick up on that and sort of just kick you to the curb. They're very, very wise about that. What we want to do is speak English, but speak the English that your customers or potential customers are using. It sounds simple, but it takes some getting used to. Sometimes your customer speaks differently than you do. So, that being said, let's head back to the presentation. I'll walk you right back through, like I said, titles, tags, and description. Relevant title tag. Relevant to what? Relevant to the list of keywords that we just generated. What's the most common set of words used for my particular kind of business? Let's take a look. That's where I'm going to start with my titles. Okay, so maybe I don't call myself business expert. Maybe I call myself business consultant because that's the wording and phrasing that's most common. So once you have the relevant title tags, you want to have that keyword-rich content like I was just describing. I believe I actually ran ahead of my presentation. Likewise, meta tags, I say the myth, the legend. Years and years ago, meta tags were the answer to searchability, to findability. Right now, they're largely irrelevant, although they do a nice job of stitching together your content. If your tags match your titles, which matches your content, it's going to ring more relevant. However, it's not going to dramatically impact your rankings. So let's make sure when you're because almost every content manager, I probably should have polled the audience. If you have access to your own site to update it, virtually every manager has meta tag keyword. Okay, great. You just kind of plug it in there. The more important thing actually is meta description. Your meta description is vastly more important. Now, it doesn't greatly impact rankings. It does Yahoo a little bit, but does anybody know what a meta description is? Meta description? Meta description is if on the page, literally, if you have access from an editing standpoint, on the page it literally shows below the title tag. And what it is, it's a group of characters that you can plug in that says basically what the site is about or what the page is about. This is, literally you can type, this is the page that back to our financial plan. This is the page that lays out the details of our financial planning options. This gives you the opportunity to compare your current situation, whatever the description of the page is. You keep it keyword rich so that it is picked up. Yahoo's really the only one that picks up that tag. But the key thing is that's what shows up in the text type below the highlight hyperlink on Yahoo. So when somebody gets, you might be Performance Financial Solutions. Below that it'll say, Performance Financial Solutions is a world-class, blah, blah. That is where your meta description goes. Yes?
What drives that on Google?
Google actually will sometimes pick up the title tag. More often than not, it'll actually pick up the first paragraph of content and kind of the first 2 or 3 lines of content that are on that given page. Or that were on the given page the day it was searched by the spiders, I should say. Not necessarily what's on there today. Here first.
Is it better to leave the meta tags empty?
No.
No.
No. It is better to use a short list of keywords. Very short. When I say short, no more than maybe 4 or 5.
Okay.
Wait, one more behind you.
On a blog, is that in the header?
Is the description? No, the blog will actually pick up the headline, and it will pick up the headline. Now, if you have a subtitle, it'll pick that up. But with a blog, it'll actually just pick up the first couple lines of content. There isn't really on a blog per se, depending on which platform you're using, there isn't necessarily, what's that? In a PHP file. But I'm saying as far as what client you're using actually to develop it. Is it a WordPress? Okay, in WordPress, you do have descriptor tag available in WordPress depending on which level you're using.
I think it's in header PHP. That's what I wondered.
Yeah, it could be. I can't say for sure. I could find that out for you.
Things like Headspace and stuff.
There you go.
There's free tools that plug into Word that'll let you.
But I'm thinking there's one of the paid versions that has that in it too, but I can't remember exactly which. I couldn't say.
I think you could modify it in the preview section.
Right.
Yes. He's right. Matt, no?
Yeah, it would probably be home.php.
Yep.
You mentioned a maximum of 4 or 5 words. Is that for the title or the tag?
Tags, meta tags. I wouldn't go any more than that because literally what happens is your meta tag only has, and right now the value is virtually none. Like I said, it's really sort of stitching together your whole site. Even with your title tags, your title tag across the top, keep it short. Keep it actually relevant. Be honest. The reason is you start laying out keywords, there are a couple things can happen. If you start stitching keywords together, one after another, okay, well, now, okay, if you have 2 keywords at the top, they get 50% of the vote. If you have 50, they get 1/50th of the vote. So they basically are 1/50th as relevant because you do 49 other things, apparently. So be careful.
Okay, just so I understand this, the descriptions you said are seen like whenever someone does a Google search is seen. Those tags, so you don't see those are just to bring your site up?
Okay, 2 things, meta tags and meta descriptions. Those are 2 different things.
Right.
Okay, the meta description is actually picked up by Yahoo far more frequently than Google. And that is simply a description of what's on the page. It's a handwritten description, hand-typed, I suppose, a description of what's on the page. The meta tag is simply a subject, like a key, like this is related to these keywords.
But no one sees that.
No, it's actually just in the code.
Okay.
Yeah, it's actually in the code. As a matter of fact, a visitor to the site page would never see the meta description either. It just shows up on the search engine. Yeah. So, all right. So, any other questions on content continuity and tags? All right, link building. Think vertically. One of the most important things that you can do when it comes to building links for your site, putting your site in places where it's most accessible and most valuable. Those are 2 different things. Link building strategy is 2-pronged, okay? First one is get traffic from other sources. That's good. The other thing is get traffic from legitimate sources or recognized sources so that it elevates your page rank in places like Google and Yahoo. Okay? Now you guys nods with me on that? So there's actually 2 things. When I say think vertically, a lot of industries have gone with sort of vertical directories, which are industry specific. Here are the area financial guys. Here are the area tire people, whatever. Find those niche places where your business lives and operates. Find your competitors. Where are they? Find other people that are in your business. Find experts that are in your field that you respect and acknowledge. Trade links. Get them on the phone. Talk to them. Reach out via Twitter, via Facebook, via LinkedIn, places like that. Get connected. And the reason this, like I said, it works in two ways. One, you'll be able to draw traffic from those locations. Secondly, you'll be able to elevate your position because a good example is if you're a financial planner and Warren Buffett says, hey, he's a pretty good financial guy, that's a really good vote. Same concept here. Get to some reliable resources. Get your site reviewed and included into those links. Pay to play. Yes, sir.
If you have customers do testimonials, and they have nothing to do with your industry, does that help if you put their URLs?
Well, the most important thing is to make sure that, from that it doesn't hurt. However, the most important thing would be for them to create content on their site claiming that you did a fantastic job. That doesn't hurt. That helps more than you putting their name and contact information on your site, especially if it's unrelated to your field. A lot of times that stuff sort of gets ignored. So let's ask about paid placement. Let's talk about paid placement. The values, the advantages, the problems, troubles. There are a handful of directories on the web that charge you a fee, annual or otherwise, sometimes it's a lifetime fee, to review your site for content and relevance and place it into a directory. Some of these are worth their time and trouble. Most of them are not. The ones that I can attest to you are worth their time and trouble: Yahoo directory, business.com, best of the web. Investigate them. See if you feel that there's something that you can get out of them, because a couple of things happen there. One, they all have decent site traffic because of their networking. They actually kind of push their directories out to different locations. The other thing is, from a Yahoo standpoint, they do get a lot of browse-worthy, they do get a lot of worthy browsed traffic that is not going through search, but rather going through browse by category. So that is a legitimate traffic option for you. The other thing is, from an optimization standpoint, is all three of those are respected resources. So when places like Google or Ask or whoever is rating your site, those links from those resources are actually considered, and considered well. So otherwise, in many cases, you kind of get punished for pay for placement. That is different than buying AdWords, just so we're all clear. That is different than buying AdWords. AdWords does a couple of things for you from an optimization standpoint. First, let me tell you that what it does for you from an optimization standpoint is relatively little. But there is a little bit that it does for you. It does a couple of things. One, it does help with your relevance index, because when you buy a set of keywords and your users come through and they click to your site and their behavior is to stay, it elevates your relevance in that particular set of words, because the user behavior is what you're affecting. However, it doesn't affect any sort of relevance to the keyword outside of that user behavior. Okay, so it's not considered a link. It's not considered anything other than you bought an ad and, oh, by the way, people tend to like it. However, you buy a set of keywords and your bounce rate is high. Does everyone know what the bounce rate is? Bounce rate, people coming in and go flying out the other side, or come right back to Google and say, oh, that's not what I wanted. Your bounce rate goes up from a keyword that you purchased. It will actually hinder your relevance in that particular keyword set. Yeah, so you got to make sure that what you're buying is what you want, and make sure that your site does what people who are using those terms, make sure your site does what they want. Yes?
Well, is there any way to test?
Watch your bounce rates.
Just watch
If your bounce rate is high on a particular set of keywords, either get out because it's not relevant to what you're doing, and that's usually what happens. The relevance is a pretty dominating factor. So either reconsider which AdWords you're buying, or understand that another thing that happens with sort of bounce rates is you'll get a lot of, or even if it's not bounce rate, but just non-converted traffic, which means you're buying AdWords and people are coming into the site, but they're not really doing anything, is either you're too far up in the sales cycle, like it's a too generalized term, which means you're probably paying too much for it anyway, or it's not relevant actually to what you're doing. An example of that would be Dr. Lori, you talked to her, or Sunny Lori, you talked to her a couple weeks ago. She has a an employment coaching clinic that she puts people through. It's kind of like boot camp. She appeals to a very specific group, so we had to be real particular when we started digging into those keyword sets. Likewise, I deal with a sports agent who is optimizing for to show up for new clients. Obviously, I mean, young athletes need agents too, you know. So he's trying to be out in front of that curve. Unfortunately, a lot of the keywords related to being a sports agent or becoming someone's sports agent are these sort of ramshackle schools that want to teach you to be a sports agent. You hear the ads on the radio. So you had to kind of walk real carefully and make sure that we didn't stumble into a lot of that traffic, which wouldn't have done him any good and probably compromised his reliability. So, like I said, some are worth it, most are not. What you want to do is there's a really kind of simple way. If you're not familiar, I'll run you through this real quick. If you want to see how reliable something is or how valuable it is to you, whoops, I got the wrong thing. I got to go back to Internet Explorer. I say that I don't mean to say that with any sort of disdain. I just have to go back to Internet Explorer.
Oh, it wasn't taken up.
If you somebody give me a site to go to. It doesn't really matter. Oh, okay. Well, we're gonna empty.
My site crashed earlier today. You can test it.
What we're going to do is, I don't know how many of you are familiar with this or even pay any attention to it. It's not nearly as valuable as it once was, but it is something that's interesting from an index standpoint.
My site is not SEO.
What's that? Oh, it doesn't matter about its optimization. It matters about its relevance and or its reliability, I should say. Not relevance, but reliability. If you have the Google toolbar installed, if you just kind of mouse over it'll say, PageRank is Google's view of the importance of this page. Well, 3 out of 10, whoops, it disappeared. 3 out of 10 is actually not bad. Google itself only has a 9, so you can see. Did you see the little tag there? The importance of this page is 3 out of 10. So when you're judging whether or not you want to be included in someone's mini directory, you're looking for people who have that 3, 4, 5, 6 ranking. 6 is awfully high, I think. Just so you know, that PageRank will say, "Oh yeah, we value this resource." Once you get somebody up to 3, that's pretty good. Yeah, that's not bad. Us, I see how we're doing. It's all relative. See how we're doing. We are
My site is
5.
4 months old.
So this is my company's homepage. We're ranked as a 5. So I guess that's okay. It would be really embarrassing if we were really bad.
It's only a couple of months old. To be a PR3 is pretty good.
What's that?
Her site is only a couple of months old.
Is it really? Oh wow, yeah. That would be very rare in the first 12 months. Oh, that would be extremely rare.
Wow.
Yeah, that would be really rare.
Is that an active log? You can add comments?
Yes, my blog is open to comments.
So maybe that's why, because the blog's
I think it's Twitter.
updating it.
Blogs, by the way, and I think that's the next topic. But yeah, blogs, by the way, have a very special relationship with Google. They have it's like.
I like it even more now.
See, I got ahead of myself. That was the next one. Referral versus directory and the waning value of PageRank. PageRank, by the way, used to be very, very important as the order in which things appeared. It doesn't really do that anymore. Likewise, if you do a Google search, has anyone ever played around with the little keys that say promote and remove? Promote, remove, promote, remove, promote, remove?
Yes.
It is, just so you know, don't waste a lot of time, promoting your own site because it's really, really way far down in the algorithm. It doesn't really do a whole lot. Now, if millions of people decide to keep promoting that particular site, then yes. However, or if a lot of people keep removing that site, it's just sort of Google just sort of washes everything against that and goes, why is this one way down here and why is this one way? That's really it. They're really only concerned with the extreme bottom and extreme top, so it's really not a big issue. Link building, social networking. For those of you who saw Stacy's presentation in the other room, it was fantastic and incredibly valuable. I just want you to understand one quick thing about social networking and how it relates to your search engine results. You can link and link and link and link and link to yourself from your blog all day long. And I recommend that good interlinking that's a good thing. You're linking from your updated content to your static pages is a great thing. And linking from your static pages to your blog content is also a nice thing. However, it's only going to vote you so much. The most important thing is for you to get word out for someone to come back. One, you're going to generate content or generate traffic via just those links back to your site for someone to read the blog that you just posted. So you get on Twitter and you say, hey, by the way, you would take a look at this. People go and read the article. What happens when you're talking about elevating PageRank, the thing that elevates PageRank is for someone else to post that and say, hey, you guys go take a look at this. Hey, you guys go take a look at that. And then another person, it's the old shampoo commercial, and they tell two friends. And so that's how you get an elevated page position on the search results, not by you constantly doing that over and over and over again yourself. Now, there's also the interest, when I say content spamming, which is actually, I think I mistyped that. It was getting late. The word is comment spamming. Attaching your link to comments of other people's blogs and Twitter posts and things like that, I want to be very, very crystal clear on that. Does absolutely no good whatsoever as far as Google's page listings are concerned. There is an actual piece of code at the bottom of every blog that says, don't go any farther for the bots. So the spiders that are searching the site actually get to the comment section and they go, oh yeah, I don't care about that, and they turn around and leave. It doesn't do you a lick of good. In the comments section of any blog, tweet, Facebook post, anything like that doesn't do you any good. Don't even bother. Now, it's nice to link back to your site from a comment section, but that's what you get. You get whatever you get from that comment post. Okay? I think I said that clearly enough. Did I get that across? All right. The Joneses. When I talk about link building, what is your competition link to? I mean, let's face it. Let's do a search that's relevant to your business and see who else is there, right? That's the first step. Let's see who else is there. And then you look at the ones that are ahead of you and go, oh, wait a minute. What are they doing that I'm not doing? Well, one of the things that they're doing is they're linking to places that you aren't. And if you would like to know what those places are, there's a subtle little tool that you can use. For instance, and I'll actually use we'll use our site for this. You just type in link domain, and the site, www.sanctuarymg.com. And what I get, the result that I get, is all the links that we have to our site. These are the places that link to us. So that is, if there was another web designer in town that said, I need to know what Sanctuary is doing, I want to know who they're linking to that's giving them this great web presence, there it is.
So those are the people that are posting your site?
Those are the people that are posting links to our site.
Oh, that's nice.
What was the command you typed in here?
Link domain, website. And please use the W's because it does read the server.
Does it work from Google too or
Just Yahoo. That's a Yahoo tool. So it's just a fun little thing. Content creation. Blog, blog, blog. Things relevant to your business. The other thing is, and this is one of the things that, I mean, it seems so simple. We talked about going to Blogspot or Blogger.com and getting a blog and getting that set up. The most important thing, location, location, location. Get it under your domain. Because otherwise what you're doing is you're splitting your loyalties. For those of us who are sports fans, it's kind of like having two guys on the same team up for the Heisman Trophy. They split the votes between them. So you don't get that sort of first place finish. You never get the top spot that you want. You never get the highest point that you could get if you have them separated. They're going to contribute to each other, but the point is that eventually you're going to fall short because you're trying to get two horses. You're trying to get two horses to win. So put everything you have behind your one domain. Bring everything together. Yes.
Does that mean if you have more than one domain, would you forward, like, put all the content on the one domain and then forward the old URLs? Is that
Okay.
worthwhile?
Yes and no. And here's why I'm going to, that's a very sticky question. Did anyone not hear the question? If you have multiple domains, should you be referring them to one core site? Yes and no. It depends on what you do for a living. For instance, if you are a musician, but you are also, so you're promoting band and club dates, you also might be a record label. These are two different disciplines. you actually stand a better chance of ranking in 2 separate disciplines individually than you do by putting them all together under one brand. You actually have the ability. Now, you can use your person as a brand, and that's more of a networking thing. But the 2 companies, from a relevance standpoint, what are they attracting? Remember we talked about setting goals for your site. What do you want someone to do when they get there? Well, those have 2 completely different purposes. So it's perfectly okay to share content in the center, but give them 2 completely different front doors. Completely acceptable. Because one's not going to compromise the other. They're not racing at the same target. If they're racing at the same target, yeah, get them under the same heading, get them under the same content umbrella. If they're racing after 2 different targets, if they're shooting for 2 different targets, I should say, then go ahead and keep them separate. You can actually do more damage to the ranking system. You can actually shake more things loose by being very segmented in what it is that you do. Because you can concentrate on a much smaller set of keywords to optimize for. And if I'm shooting at 20 targets as opposed to shooting at 200 targets, I'm going to stand a much better chance of being able to hit them repeatedly than I am if I got, like I said, than if I got 200 targets. Yes?
I don't want to fill out time, but if you had like a domain like research.blog.com and then www.blog.com, are they considered the same?
They are.
Okay.
You only have one top-level domain. Whatever is immediately prior to .com is your domain. Inside of that, you can have multiple.
Okay.
Yeah. Although from.
2 separate domains.
Yeah. Although from, and actually, you just led me right into the next little escalated through interlinking and breadcrumb navigation, which is a really cute term that I've adapted to. Does anybody know what breadcrumb navigation is? Yeah. Breadcrumb navigation simply means that if you are linking down through levels of your site, that somewhere on the page you keep track of where they were. That says, okay, you went from women's apparel to skirts to a particular brand name. And you leave that up there so that someone knows how they got where they are and how they can get back. Because it's not so much that the users need that, but the spiders and bots that are searching through your site need that. They escalate through that very quickly. Spiders, if you don't know how spiders work, wait, back up. Everybody know what a spider is? I mean, not spider, but everybody knows what a web spider is? Web spider is a tiny little robot, a virtual robot that's sent out by Google, Yahoo, whatnot, to search through all the links on your site and follow a path so that it can find the relevant content that it's looking for. Okay? It's not just looking at your homepage anymore. They actually search all the way through. It actually falls down like a Plinko chip. You know, do you remember Plinko on Price is Right? Blink, 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 blink. Yeah, it just keeps falling down through your site until it gets to the bottom. And then it crawls back out. So then what it does is it indexes all that information. Your homepage isn't your homepage anymore, folks. Because if your site is properly optimized with specific content on each page, you have different various things that your company does. This is our services page that does this. This is our that does that. You have different content areas. So what's going to happen is if your site's properly optimized, everybody's not going to keep coming through the front door. What you're going to have is you're going to literally have people crawling through the windows. Literally, like they showed up in any solid reporting. Google Analytics is as good as there is in the business right now. Google Analytics will tell you not only what keywords someone used when they found your site, but they'll show you what door they came in to get there. They'll say, oh, this was their landing page. This many people hit this landing page. This many people hit this landing page, and so forth and so forth and so forth. If your site is really well optimized and continually updated and kept in contact with your blogs and things like that, you'll see more and more of that happen. You get those really cool Google results that'll have the name of your company at the top, a little snippet from the homepage, then an indent and 3 more things. You know, that's how you get those, is by having your site properly optimized and really kept up to date, kept in shape. And remember, from the very beginning, if I leave you with nothing, remember, SEO is a process, not an event. It is a process. So, yes?
I hate to interrupt you.
No, you're
You
fine.
are on a roll.
That happens all the time. No, I'm kidding.
Does that mean then that each page on your website needs to have its own meta tags?
Certainly its own title tags. Yeah. As a matter of fact, your title tags should also match the link that someone clicks to get there. If you get my meaning. In the navigation, it'll say services. Well, in the example we used of our financial guy, why not put financial planning services as the link, as opposed to just services? Obviously, you have some considerations for space at times, but there's also ways that you can actually embed that into the link without actually putting it on the face of the link itself. You with me on that? I got a nod from the back. But yeah, you can actually attach more text than is actually there. You have alt tags, where you kind of mouse over and you see that little, like we looked at the PageRank deal. There are all kinds of ways to do this. And there's a zillion little tidbits and trivias that I could take you through. There's sort of a tipping point where you go, might be time to hire a professional. You know what I mean? Like, okay, you guys are digging in deep, and some of you are going to be real comfortable with it, and some of you are going to go, God, I hope something doesn't blow up. Just remember, if you're updating your own site to do optimization, just remember everything in moderation and be honest. Do not overpack your language with keywords. Do not overpack your title bars with keywords. If you start getting a reputation for having that sort of spammy behavior, eventually Google will just start pushing you down the list. They're very deliberate about it. And they'll actually send you a little nasty gram too. They'll send you a little, literally, it's like the Google version of a cease and desist. Like, you're either going to clean this up or we're going to make your site disappear. And it doesn't disappear from the world, but it does disappear from Google, which might as well be disappearing from the world. So, just to recap, the factors that are easily in your control. They're not the only factors. These are just ones that, hey, we can do something about these if you take some time and consider. Content continuity, linkage, recency, user behavior. Let's make sure you know what you want them to do when they show up, because then you can sort of guide that behavior. The actions, goal setting, strategy. Make sure we have that all laid out ahead of time so that the site is built to react to those kinds of things. Make sure you know your AdWords before you start building your directories. Make sure you know the most popular keywords for your business. The research, again, kind of part and parcel with the two things, but let's make sure that we know how our customers behave. Let's make sure we know what they do. Let's take a look and see what their buying cycle looks like. What do they use at the beginning of their buying cycle? What do they use at the end of their buying cycle? Let's try to measure those things against one another. Talk to people, ask, find some. There's some great resources out there for doing those kinds of things. Titles, tags, and descriptions. Let's just make sure again, it's the old 5-paragraph essay. Tell us what you're going to tell us, then tell us what you just told us. Very, very simple strategy. It ties everything neatly together so that the bots that come through, the spiders that come through go, this connects to this, connects to this. Hip bone's connected to the thigh bone. They're very logical little beasts. And then they leave and they report in very clean order what goes into the index and what does not. Link building. Find those places that are appropriate. Try not to pay for stuff that you don't think is relevant. Use a little bit of PageRank. Use your PageRank at the Google toolbar to kind of see if things are valuable for you or not. And then content creation. Get your message out. Get it out via blog. Get it out via microblog. Get it out however you can get it out. And then make sure everything points to that one core home. Unless, like we said, we've got multiple disciplines that we're working at, make sure everything points to that one goal that you're shooting for. And that's it. That's all I got. So, questions? Yes?
Talking about the one core home, what's the best way to handle, misspellings? We have a domain that gets easily misspelled, so we've got the alternative to spellings. How do we get people in the right direction without hurting our ranking?
Well, of course. Okay, a couple of things. Your website domain name, your actual domain name, means very little to Google. It means a little bit, but very, very little. So the misspellings on direct nav, which is what you're talking about, if somebody misspells when they're trying to type in the name of your business, it actually, depending on how their browser is configured, it depends on what their default search is. Because what happens is it defaults to search. If somebody types in something incorrectly, it'll default to search and say, "Did you mean this?" If it's Google, Google's really good at cleaning up misspellings. If they're set to Roadrunner or MSN or something like that, then it's really a matter of what else you've done from an optimization standpoint as to whether or not you're going to appear in that group. Does that make sense?
No, that's not what I'm asking.
Okay.
Should the misspelling be a domain alias or should it be a forward? Maybe that's another way to phrase it.
Should it be a domain alias or should it be a forward? From a content standpoint, it really doesn't matter how you set. You're talking about literally two different things. One is hard-coded, pointed to the same site, and the other is forwarded to another domain, right? The difference between a site alias and a domain forward. Does everybody understand what he's asking? Your name is either pointed to a server or it's pointed to another name, okay? One is considered an alias and one is considered a forward. I would I'm going to hesitate to answer that question authoritatively and say I don't think it matters from an optimization standpoint. I don't think one has any impact on the other because the content's the same either way.
I mean, my concern is the way you just described it is us having misspelling. Is it actually hurting anything?
No, it wouldn't because the misspelling wouldn't ever come up if it's not the primary domain. You know, from an indexing standpoint, it would never come up.
Is there a way to use like AdWords, like relevancy, to see what misspelled words were used to get to your site? I don't know if that would.
Sure.
If you had an alias, and would it show?
Well, the thing is like okay, if someone's searching for your name, that's a completely different matter than optimization. That has to do with your site being registered appropriately and having the appropriate contact information in the right places. That your web designer should take care of for you. If not, any book on web design is going to basically, in most apps that you use for site building are going to put it in the right place anyway. So your name is a little bit different. Now, from
website name, if people are entering it with the wrong spelling,
uh-huh.
is there a way to see how many times that is occurring?
I
compared to the
don't.
correct spelling?
I
Or
could.
maybe which ones are showing up.
I can't say.
Wouldn't analytics tell you
Analytics.
how people found you?
Well, if you own them. But I think what he's asking is if he doesn't own them and somebody types in a misspell. Yeah, there's no way to tell. But yeah, your analytics will tell you what someone what someone typed in to get there. And when I say analytics, that could be there's a couple of pro companies, Website Story I think is still around, and Web Trends is still around, which have great apps for that. But Google Analytics is free and it works extremely well for doing that sort of thing. Yes.
W3C, how does that play into SEO?
W3C.
Accessibility. Anytime you make your site more search engine friendly, you're making it more accessible.
Yeah, I was going to say because honestly that's a discipline that's outside of that. I leave that to our
Using
programmers.
alt tags properly, forming,
Yeah.
updating, stuff like that.
Yeah.
How does that play into
Absolutely. Anything that does a better job of telling you what is where on your site is going to help. Site mapping is the same kind of concept. Most of your site builder tools are going to have a site map function that you just fill in the appropriate information, the appropriate order. It's going to help. Now, how far down the line that is in the algorithm, I don't have any idea. And there's several other compliance things for code. The more compliant your codes are with the various standards that are out there, the easier it's going to be for the bots to get around, the better your page your page listing is going to appear. Are we done?
I'm kicking you out.
All right. I am done.